Morning everybody, we'll get underway just as soon as one more councillor takes his seat. So good morning councillors, welcome to this meeting of the Civic Affairs Committee. Welcome to staff, Grant from the Otago Daily Times and all the folk that are going to be speaking to us, board members and place-based group members. So welcome along everybody, great to have you all here. We're now back into housekeeping rules, which I'm sure the majority of you will know, but we have to read them out anyway. So toilets are through the entry-exit doors to the right. Fire evacuation procedures, of course we take the stairs only, do not use the lift, as we did last time, which is a lot of fun. And assemble on the footpath in front of Night and Day in the corner of Princess Street and the Octagon. Alternatively, there's the assembly point in Morrow Place out the back if you use the back stairs. Just follow the instructions of the fire warden. Earthquake procedures: remain in the building, it is safer. Move away from windows and any equipment and furniture which may topple. Take shelter under solid furniture such as tables and hold on. Lock wheels and any mobility aid. If you do require assistance in the event of an evacuation, please advise the Government Support Officer. In all cases, follow the instructions given by fire wardens, civil defence officers and emergency services. Public forum, there is none. So moving on to apologies. We have an apology for early departure from Councillor Gilbert and an apology for absence from Councillor O'Malley. So I will move that those two apologies be accepted.
Mr. Chair, yes. I think there may be some lateness due to an accident.
That's true. So we're not going to try and put apologies in for people, but we will note that there will be some lateness from certain people because there's been an accident on Portsmouth Drive. So, so the apologies that we do have, I've moved, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? And that's carried. Thank you. The agenda. I have no changes. Anybody have any requests of changes for the agenda? If not, I will move that the committee confirms the agenda without addition or alteration. Seconded, Councillor Gilbert. Any discussion? If not, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? And that's carried. Declarations of interest. Are there any changes to our register? If not, I will move that the committee notes the elected members' interest register attached as attachment A and confirms the proposed management plan for elected members' interests. Seconder, Councillor Gilbert. Any discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? And that's carried. Thank you. Move on to the confirmation of minutes from the Civic Affairs Committee meeting on the 17th of September. Does anybody have any questions in relation to that? If not, I will move that the committee confirms the minutes of the Civic Affairs Committee meeting held on the 17th of September 2024 as a correct record. Seconded, Councillor Walker. Any discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? And that's carried. Thank you. So we now move on to Part A reports. The first one being Civic Affairs Committee Forward Work Programme, and I invite Mr West to make any comments.
I'm happy to take questions, but I will give you an update on one aspect, which is the mayoral scholarship, which is under the recognition of former mayors. I have had a meeting with the University of Otago and I'm in email correspondence with them a bit further down with that one, and there's a few choices to be made for council around that, and I'm just toying with the idea of whether after Christmas, when we've been through the busy pre-Christmas period, we set up a short workshop just to talk about some of those options, to get a steer on what the report might look like as we move into maybe March time. So good progress on that one, and there have been really positive conversations with the university, but there's lots of variables in it which I need to check out to see whether we're in line with what you guys are thinking. So apart from that, I'm happy to take questions.
Questions, Councillor? Councillor Lucas.
Thank you. I'm not sure whether Mr West or maybe Ms Sullivan might be able to answer this. We had the workshop last week on the Code of Conduct. I'm just wondering what the next steps. Do we have an approximate timeline when that? I mean, it was a very useful workshop.
No, we don't have a timeline as yet, but I'll talk to...
Hold on. You're broken.
I'll talk to Mr West and the Chief Executive, and we'll
Thank you.
look at there's some changes that we can put in.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Gary.
Yes, so just in relation to that, I just wondered if there were some words missing, Ms Sutherland, on the elected member gift policy, and then it refers in the next column to the Code of Conduct, and it finishes with but there's some words missing there.
No, the but was meant to be removed.
Ah, okay. Thank you. I thought I was missing something. But it wasn't.
If there's no further questions, I'll move that the committee notes the Civic Affairs Committee Forward Work Programme as shown in Attachment A. Seconded, Councillor Houlihan. Any discussion? If not, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you. Item number 7, Community Board Forum. So we have 2 community boards coming to speak to us today, which is Strathtyre and Waikouaiti Coast. So Strathtyre is first. I'd like to invite, please, to the table Anna Wilson, who's the Deputy Chair of the Board, along with Tarina Geddes. So welcome, ladies. And you've got 10 minutes, as you, I'm sure, are aware, to present to us, and then we will have an opportunity for questions after that. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors, staff and public. Myself and fellow board member Tarina Geddes are here to present on behalf of the Strathtyre Community Board. Firstly, we would like to extend our sincere gratitude to the DCC for its commendable efforts in advocating for the new Dunedin Hospital. Your dedication has not gone unnoticed within our rural community, and we appreciate your continued commitment to securing this vital facility. It will serve not only the Dunedin region, but also much of the South Island. So thank you. The first priority we would like to raise is flooding. This is our top priority, and as previously highlighted, there is an ongoing and absolute need to resolve, as a matter of urgency, issues within and adjacent to the Middlemarch Township in regard to flooding. We do appreciate the collaborative approach between the DCC and ORC in respect to consulting on this. However, we note that there have been several floods since the big major one in November 2018, which has made it difficult to encourage businesses to operate in the township. To date, no significant major works have been undertaken to effectively reduce the likelihood of a similar event reoccurring. While we acknowledge that some minor works have been completed, we firmly believe that given the increasing frequency of adverse events, this remains a serious concern for our community. Our community is proactive. We have initiated the start of a community response group aimed at ensuring community preparedness. We are well aware that if, for example, the AF8 fault goes off, we will not be a top priority. A rural community can certainly be resilient, but we need to plan, and we also need to be able to have access to resources. We could very easily be cut off due to bridges being taken out. Currently, our community centre has very limited resources in the event of an emergency, which include one very small generator and a radio. We are investigating emergency pods, which have enough equipment and provisions to service 200 community members for 7 days. Something like these ones here, but again, it comes at a cost.
Our second priority is the Tari Gorge Railway. The board would support further investigation of potentially complementary cycleway component for those parts of the line where it can be safely incorporated into the overall railway experience. It has been a considerable time since the train last came to Middlemarch. In the interim, our community has successfully expanded and enriched visitor experiences through various business ventures and attractions. However, the Middlemarch community now requires clarity on the future of the train service. A definitive answer, along with a clear timeframe for the train's return to Middlemarch, would be invaluable to our planning and ongoing development efforts. A promotional group called Discover Middlemarch has been established, which was supported by the Community Board with the initial funding, as we see a great benefit in promoting the area and encouraging longer stays and weekend excursions. It is acknowledged and requested that this group be supported, as it requires input and guidance from Council to maximise effectiveness and bringing opportunities to the area.
Another priority is the beautification and railway precinct area. The Middlemarch Railway Precinct is one of the very few railway station complexes left intact in New Zealand. The Board strongly urges Council to pursue gazettal of that complex through Heritage New Zealand. We would also welcome the opportunity to collaborate with the DCC and Waka Kotahi to enhance the main thoroughfares of Middlemarch, particularly as we prepare to host significant events such as the National Ploughing Championships in 2025 and the Cavalcade in 2026. Middlemarch is also a key point as the start and finish of the Otago Central Rail Trail. The community envisions a welcoming main street that reflects the character of our area, complemented by thoughtful plantings and clear, attractive signage. At present, visitors concluding or starting the rail trail are met with old, derelict and often rusty train carriages, which detract from the area's appeal. An updated streetscape would provide a more positive and lasting impression, aligned with our role as a gateway to the region.
Also high on our Board's long-term plan is a safe and consistent water supply. Residents of Middlemarch, Sutton and Hyde rely on various sources for their personal water supply. Nationwide, the issues arising from untreated water supplies are well documented. We recognise the option of installing a treatment plant is costly. However, we would like to recommend an alternative. The Council could buy bulk water purification units, when then the landowner could then only have to pay to have these installed.
Other priorities include recycling. To help support Council's effort of transitioning to a low-carbon economy, the Strathtyre Community Board would support additional recycling centres at Hindon and Hyde, which currently have none of these facilities. We would also support the collection of bins along State Highway 87 and upon return via George King Memorial Drive.
Management of wilding pines and other noxious weeds. It is noted that there are a few beginning to appear on roadsides that Council manage. Currently, many landowners are clearing them, but again, we ask for Council assistance with this. And we would also like to investigate the long-term needs for a new and improved community hub or multi-purpose complex, particularly one that would serve the community in an emergency.
Thank you. And any questions?
Thank you very much. Questions, councillors? Mr Mayor, you're first to cab off the rank.
Yep, a couple of questions. Firstly, the flooding, which is a significant issue. There was a range of discussions that took place a year or more ago, and the focus really was on getting, I suppose, permission or collaboration with the ORC on changing on improving the water channel running alongside the town. Has any progress been made on that?
Not major progress, no. There has been small improvements like clearing grass out of the drain, removing some blockages, but again, nothing major. And the recent flooding, again, it did come very close, so that is a concern. And again, we get reports most meetings from ORC. It has taken a long time. We're going back to November 2018 and still nothing significant has changed.
So what are the nature of the reports? Just to say, well, you almost flooded, or maybe we're going to do something about it if it does flood, or
a lot of the reports are referring to modelling, and modelling takes time. So that is what we're currently told. Yeah.
Do you have a time frame on that? Do you have a time frame on that, given that it's don't touch it? You only press when you're ready to speak, just immediately before. Because 6 years sounds like a fair bit of time, but perhaps that's not fair. Maybe perhaps more time is required. Do you have a time frame for the modelling and for some answers about what might be needed?
2026 is when we're looking at having answers from the ORC.
And so with the recent rain of a few weeks ago, obviously the township did not flood. Did you get similar levels of rain at Middlemarch that we got here in Dunedin?
The only reason why Middlemarch didn't flood in the last event was a contractor was employed to come to the pinch point of the March Creek, and he dug out about 3 scoops of built-up gravel, and that was enough to drop the water flow to flow underneath the railway bridge, which causes all the issues, and stop the water flowing into the township.
So would getting that done on a regular basis provide, that would not? So how can it make the difference in the moment but not on a regular basis?
We need to be a lot more reactive. If the bridge was cleared out properly, it's choked by about 1/3 to 1/2, so the water cannot flow underneath the bridge. It was cleared out under emergency powers.
So do you have a plan for how you can get it cleared out properly?
I think that's what we're relying on the experts to do. That is not what I would say community board, to be able to touch waterways is not something we want to get into. That is what we rely on the regional council to do.
That's a regional council issue, not a DCC issue. Right, very good. DCC issues. Are you aware that Middlemarch is on the new Monopoly Board?
No, we are not.
We had the Dunedin Monopoly Board was launched last week in Dunedin, and Middlemarch, just Middlemarch, is there. So that absolutely feeds into your Discover Middlemarch organisation and initiative, because that's probably something that the DCC has done to promote Middlemarch and its position in the region, being at the terminus of the Tauri Gorge Rail, and similarly the Otago Central Rail Trail. So that's it. Thank you.
Just before we go any further, I think Mr Perkins has got a comment to make in relation to one of the Mayor's questions.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, with regards to the flooding in Middlemarch, the issue we've got there is the construction of the bridge that spans the culvert where the water goes through. It's got an I-beam which is, as Trina mentioned, it's blocking about 1/3 of the actual culvert, which doesn't allow the water to go through, and it needs modification for it to be able to work properly. However, the ORC aren't in a position to be able to do that work, and as indicated, there's a lot of modelling getting done, but no actual work's being done to actually alleviate the problems that we've got up there. So something needs to be done with that bridge and how it's constructed to be able to allow the water to go through that area. But then there's a downstream effect of when you let that water go through, then it's likely to flood other areas. So it's a reasonably complicated thing to be able to achieve, and they are working their way through it, but at a very slow pace.
Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Chair. Thanks, Anna Terina, for coming along today. I think I have 3 questions. And apologies earlier for my Star Wars question, forgive me. Firstly, on your plan, which I read last night, I noticed number 3 was cycle safety, ensure safety of cyclists across the section of the rail trail over March Creek. Can you just speak to any progress? I'm telling by your smile there's none, but can you speak to that?
That is no longer one of our top priorities. Yep.
So that segues into my second question, is because I think when you did your presentation, you mentioned Tairi Gorge Railway is number 2. So the question was, are you going to update the priority list here? So I think is that something you'll do? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And my final question is, you mentioned intriguingly the imminent arrival of a national ploughing competition. I am intrigued. Is that quite a significant event?
Yes, we are expecting close to 200 people, including ploughers and supporters. So it's pretty exciting to have that in our rural community. And obviously it's a lot, it'll supply a lot of fundraising for our community groups, which everyone's looking for money these days, along with accommodation and all of that. And also bring people to not just the Middlemarch area, but also the Dunedin region.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe last year or the year before it actually got national coverage. I think I remember seeing it on TV 103, so it's not insignificant, actually. Okay,
Correct.
cool. And do we have any proficient ploughers in your area?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have a few, and ones with horses.
I think he's reigning national champ, isn't he?
Yeah, potentially reigning national champ.
Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to ask a question really about the railway coming back and around Discover Middlemarch, and also the beautification of the railway area. So I know that's a wonderful precinct. Who owns the land around that precinct?
It is a very complicated. I won't give an absolute answer to this because it is complicated. We've obviously got DCC owning part of it. Is it Railways?
Yes.
Owning some of it as well. So
Possibly the Crown.
we can potentially come back to you with that.
So does that make it quite complicated to understand who's responsible for the beautification?
Again, potentially, yes. We just see it as a great community asset, a building in our township. Obviously, hopefully that doesn't get flooded. Again, we're trying to encourage people to stop, to set up business, and that is challenging. Even, you probably no doubt saw the ODT this morning. We've got a business that's been operating in Middlemarch, but again, people won't get insurance. So why would you set up a business? The risk is really high. So if we can encourage, the flooding to be rectified, that would go a long way.
Thank you. And it just the Discover Middlemarch, do they actually, I'm thinking in terms of destination management, because we have destination management within council, do they actually have like a plan of everything that they want?
Yep, I'm actually a member of Discover Middlemarch as well, so we are certainly working to a plan. Our first step is actually starting with a website, which is nearly completed, because obviously we've got these events coming, so we want people to see what's actually on in our region. But we're starting small, and then we'll obviously we are going through different funding avenues. We've been successful with Otago Community Trust, and looking at even employing a coordinator for a couple of hours a week to be able to put time into it and really make it a destination.
Are you getting support from Enterprise Dunedin to help with this?
No.
How do I ask it as a question? Would you be open to going and talking to Enterprise Dunedin as soon as possible about this?
Absolutely. Yes, thank you.
Councillor Gary.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. That was excellent in the answers to the questions asked. I had a question about the emergency pod. I think we're all aware that there's going to be time in an emergency where we have to fend for ourselves, so good on you for responding to that. Do you have a costing on the emergency pods, and is there anything else you can tell us about them?
Yes, these pods that I showed in this image are very expensive. We're looking potentially over $200,000. However, if we set it up ourselves, we would, easily be able to replicate that a lot cheaper. So it depends, what our community needs. That is for 200 people, but we are looking at cheaper options.
And potential to use a little bit of the money from your project fund towards that, a little bit of the money. It depends on, of course, how much it costs. But you'd apply for grants and so forth, would you?
Absolutely, and also looking at, nationwide grants in the adverse event space, which is pretty big, and working with CDM Otago as well. Thank you.
Councillor Mayhem.
My question was about the emergency pods too. You might have heard me gasp at the price tag. I'm sure you can replicate them easier. So just talking about the railway, you said that you would be interested in incorporating both the cycleway and the railway line and making it an attraction to Middlemarch, and that you would like a clear timeline around what's going to happen. And you also mentioned rusty train carriages as not being that attractive.
Unfortunately, their slides won't go back, but...
How many carriages are there?
Yeah, I think, I quickly took a photo last night, but there would have to be 6 at least. I'll just find the photo again.
And I'll assume that you don't know why they're there or how long they'll be there, or are they going to stay there?
I have tried last year to contact railways and ask what their plans were, because it does feel like it's a bit of a dumping ground. There is another area out near Sutton, which is not as visually in your face, that potentially is a better location. But again, the communication about what their plan is unknown.
Maybe they could be converted into emergency pods. My next question is about the March River, the culvert. So it's a culvert under the bridge, so just a pipe. Is the pipe not big enough? Should there be a larger culvert, or should it just be open?
It's a bridge at the end of the railway line. It's a railway bridge, so it's probably got historic heritage value. It's constructed from old iron I-beams, so it's not quite as easy as just, let's just make the hole bigger. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it does need to be done because that's where the choke point is.
And would stock banks be an option to prevent further downstream flooding?
I'm just trying to recall the site specifically. It would eventually still get around. You'd have to have a stock bank that would go right back to the houses. It wouldn't be that easy, no.
Just before we go any further, can I just inform councillors that we have a limited time frame for staff availability for this meeting today. So it's great that the questions are flowing as they are, but can I just ask that we be a little bit more succinct with the type of, well, not so much the type of questions, but just try and be quicker with the way that you frame things. That would be really helpful. Thank you. Councillor Houlihan.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions as well. I'm trying to think what it's called when you get that, when trees are being chopped and then they fall down. It's called something, I can't think what it's called. Slash, thank you, that was the word I was looking for. I saw photos on Facebook of severe flashes. That must be the bridge you're talking about, is it? Under that bridge, is that the problem? One of the...
Not that particular bridge, it is the build-up of gravel that's causing the main issues. It flows through farmland where we have no forestry affecting it, but it is long grass, and as the gravels that come down, it's blocking the culvert mainly.
Those pods, have you talked to Rotary at all about those? Because I know we've done some fundraisers in the past, and I think it's an ongoing one with Rotary around the similar things like those pods. So it might be worth mentioning to them. They possibly couldn't buy them all, but you never know. They might take it on as a project. And the other question, I think Councillor Mayhem asked most of that, but can I just get clarification? Your feeling around the train is that if people with a bike could get on the train as well and get to your destination, that would be a win-win to have both the train and the cyclists. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, it is. We understand that there is a lot of work to be done on the train line, particularly the last section from Pukerangi to Middlemarch. However, if we could somehow utilise that with either cyclists being able to bike to Pukerangi or, the train could come all the way to Middlemarch, would a win-win for either situation.
Thank you.
Councillor Gilbert.
Thank you. The culvert seems to be a question. If I could just ask Councillor Wiley to lean to one side. Thank you very much. Mr. Perkins, you mentioned that the ORC was, quote, not in a position to, end quote, do anything. Can you expand on that?
I'm not sure if I said they're not in a position. They haven't done it like they've been doing modelling to identify what needs to be done. That modelling work's been going on since I've been on the board, as a senior rep, which is at least a couple of years they've been discussing modelling what they need to do and what they don't need to do. Haven't seen a lot of major activity to alleviate the problems that we've got.
Councillor van der Vis.
Are you in a position to be able to come up with other events like the singles event that was so very popular in Middlemarch? Do you have capacity for overnight stay for a number of people? And have you considered the issue with rail, and that is a safety issue regarding inebriation of patrons returning? 3 questions, sorry, that's as brief as I can be.
Thank you. So the singles ball, I'm not on that committee, but I'm not sure if that is going to be taking place. Obviously the costs with running an event like that are now becoming a barrier. The cost of security, marquees and things is a huge cost. Ideally, that's where this new Discover Middlemarch group will be looking for opportunities. And once again, groups are always looking at fundraising, so there has been talk potentially of a lot of different groups running a singles ball. But again, like the train, that's a huge cost as well. So it's really looking at the cost-benefit analysis of such an event. It has been what Middlemarch is known for, and it would be great to have it back in the community. Again, accommodation in the area, there is a lot, especially with the Central Otago Rail Trail. We also have, sharers' quarters or wool sheds, depends what people are after. We've got varying levels of accommodation options. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember. Yeah. We also have the Strathtyre Connect Trust within our community who are really proactive at seeking funding for community groups and also running events within our community. So we're very lucky to have them.
And finally, an AMP show, I take it to be something like that happening. Is there any way of scaling that up to be a sort of nationwide visible event? Definitely, we run some quite out there things already at our AMP show, particularly the Lord Mayor race or the Musterers race, which are, again, probably not health and safety conscious. However, it is a wonderful day out, and potentially we can look at getting better media coverage for that. And again, that's something that Discover Middlemarch will be working on.
Thank you very much. That's the end of questions. Anna and Tarina, thank you for your time and for your presentation, and look forward to seeing you on Thursday.
Thank you.
I now invite the Chair and Deputy Chair of the Waikouaiti Coast Community Board to come and speak to us, which is Alistair Morrison and Andy Barrett. Welcome, gentlemen. And just before you get started, I just want to acknowledge some apologies that did actually come in before this meeting started, but my phone was on silent and they were texts and I didn't see them. Councillor Lafiso is an apology for the whole meeting, unfortunately. and councillors Weatherall and Wiley also got their apologies for lateness and due to the accident and another obligation before the meeting started. So they have been noted. Thank you. Gentlemen, you have 10 minutes and then hopefully we'll fit into 10 minutes as well. The floor's yours.
Hello, good morning. Nice to be with you again and thank you for the opportunity to come along for a chat. And most of you will know our Deputy Chair, Dr. Andy Barrett. I watched all of your Aurora Energy debate on the YouTube channel a few weeks ago, and by the end it became fairly evident that there is not any spare money for nice-to-have projects, and we won't be asking for any. And we do understand that you will be looking to trim budgets where possible. A few weeks ago we were asked to itemise our main priorities for the 9-year plan, and we'll run through these here. We will have more detailed information when we make our submission to the 9-year plan in due course, and this will be reflected in our community plan, currently in the process of being updated. And we will also be making suggestions on how money can be saved. Some of you will no doubt remember the lead and water issue that we had in Waikouaiti 3.5 years ago. At the conclusion of that, we were advised that the upgrade of the Waikouaiti water treatment plant would be completed in 2023. That has not happened. There were a number of issues at the raw water intake end of the system, but those have been resolved, and now they are onto the equipment to address taste and odour issues. You will see the funding for the upgrade in your 9-year plan budgets when you get them, and we ask that you don't look to trim those. The latest advice we have is that the upgrade of the Waikouaiti water treatment plant will be in 2026. It is said that what goes in must come out, and the aforementioned water treatment plan deals with what goes in. In your 9-year plan, there will be some very significant numbers in the tens of millions dealing with the issues of the northern wastewater treatment plants, and these are the things that deal with what go out the other end. The resource consent for the Warrington wastewater scheme, or sewage treatment plant if you like, has expired, and the Three Waters team are in discussion with the Regional Council about gaining an extension to the consent. The Warrington plant is on the coast, it's not far above sea level, and is effectively close to the end of its useful life. The Waikouaiti scheme, which also serves Karitani, is also on the coast and not far above sea level. Its resource consent expires in 2027, and there are some quality issues which staff are discussing with ORC. Three Water staff have been looking at various options for these schemes into the future, and some detailed information will be presented to you, together with the likely costs when the 9-year plan budgets are with you. But I do have to let you know that the numbers are significant. There is one aspect of the Waikouaiti treatment plant that needs ongoing maintenance, and that is a spray area in the forest across the road from the Zeal Gold egg production facility on Motanica Drive. Some time ago it wasn't clear whether maintenance was a Three Waters or a Parks and Recreation issue, and all the while the weeds were starting to grow higher than the recently planted trees. That got resolved as a Three Waters issue, and progress is being made with corrective and ongoing maintenance. And it's important to clarify that you can't just have any contractors working in there. Due to the nature of the effluent being sprayed, it is essential that workers are properly trained and have all the necessary inoculations to be able to work safely in this hazardous area. It's sometimes easy to scan budgets in detail and look to trim what maybe just appears to be ground maintenance. I urge you not to look to reduce this particular budget item, otherwise we will end up back where we started and it will end up costing more. And moving from liquid waste to more solid stuff, Andy will bring you up to date with what's going on with the One Coast team, and Andy is part of the committee that oversees the operations of One Coast.
Yes, thank you. So the board's submission to the 9-year plan will include a request for regular funding of the operation of the One Coast facility at the Waikoiti Waste Management site. As I'm sure you will remember, you've been told on a number of occasions about One Coast. It's a community-based group dedicated to waste reduction and resource recovery. Since 2021, when the site for the first container was prepared, One Coast has grown from strength to strength, and it has just installed its fourth container. Although it has a dedicated group of volunteers, One Coast relies on paid part-time workers for its operation. Currently, the money to pay for these workers comes from grants. This money is always short-term and cannot be relied upon from one year to the next. Grant applications also take up a considerable amount of staff time that could be spent much more usefully. One Coast has already proved its value to the DCC. It meets 5 of the 6 objectives set out in the recently released draft waste minimisation plan. And that plan also includes as one of its purposes the commitment to, quote, improve opportunities for community-based resource recovery. To that end, the same document proposes changes that will lead, quote, to increased and more flexible waste minimisation funding. In the Board's view, the request for long-term operational funding to support One Coast is consistent with the DCC's draft plan, and we trust that it will be supported by the Council. Thank you.
In early 2023, Andy and I gave a pictorial presentation to this committee relating to the Waikoiti River Estuary and Karitani Harbour. At a subsequent meeting of the Infrastructure Services Committee, it was resolved that a management plan for this area should be implemented. We've heard absolutely nothing since then. We have enjoyed separate site visits with your fairly recently appointed coastal engineers, and we would like to see a start being made on a plan for this area, particularly given the precarious nature of a raw sewage pipe and the reasonably frequent issues of flooding in the area and across the adjacent state highway. I suppose that the term management plan can conjure up images of expensive consultants, but in our view it does not necessarily have to be this way. There is enough local expert and experience knowledge relating to the area to be able to make a start on a framework for such a plan at little or no cost to the Council. All that is required is an initial acceptance of this idea by Council, and we would like to have further discussion on this sooner rather than later. And in winding up this morning, we have the ongoing issue of maintenance of roads, footpaths, ditches, vegetation and trees. I am aware that Transport Vegetation Budget will not have nice pretty things in it, but will focus on essential and safety issues, and we have a number of these in our area. In the past, we have had very useful drive-arounds with Council staff where many local issues were identified and then resolved, and we would like to see this continue. And on the topic of drive-arounds, if any of you are not sure about the topics or locations that we have mentioned just now, we would be happy to pick you up and take you for a drive around the appropriate areas. And that's that for now, and I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, gentlemen. Councillors, questions? Councillor Walker.
Seems everyone's brushing. Thanks, guys, for the presentation. Probably a question for Andy around One Coast. Just a couple of really basic questions. What is the current structure of that organisation? Is it an incorporated trust?
Yeah, it's an incorporated society.
And just so we're clear here, and you'll obviously enlighten us further at the 9-year plan, the suggestion is to come to us to look for whatever, how many years that might be, but multi-year guaranteed funding moving forward of some quantum.
Yes, I mean, I think it's entirely up to Council what mechanism they use for that. I'm also on the board for the Moana Gal pool, and that pool for many years has had an operational grant, and it would seem to me that that could easily be the same kind of mechanism here, but it certainly wouldn't be for the same sort of amount.
And sorry, and just again, we'll probably get into the detail at the 9-year plan, but at the moment, the quantum of money you have, in terms of what you want to do aspirationally with One Coast, you're looking obviously to have A, ideally more, but B, more importantly, probably guaranteed.
Sorry about that. Well, at the moment, One Coast is still developing. As I say, we've gone from 1 container to 4. Every time we get a new container, we realise that we need another one. So there's quite a lot of money at the moment that needs to be spent on further development and so on. But as I say, on the operational side, we certainly would appreciate the just the ongoing certainty that we can continue operating. And I think the other point I would like to make, and Councillor O'Malley makes this point regularly at these meetings, is that the One Coast operation can be seen very much as a model for what might be happening at other sites, and we would certainly hope that that is the case.
And that's all the questions we have. Thank you, gentlemen, and don't think lack of questions is lack of interest, because it's not. And obviously your presentation was so thorough that we don't need to ask any more questions. So thank you very, very much. Thank you. Okay, so we now move, there's nothing to move there, we move on to item number 8, which is place-based community groups. We've got presentations, but before that we have the report from Miss Huako. Welcome along, Gina. And would you like to make any comments in relation to your report first?
Thank you. I will make the comment that the staff have had the pleasure of now visiting all the place-based groups in recent times, seeing the activities that have been happening and how they service their communities. So obviously this paper is a brief description of the two groups we have present today, who will also further explain who they are, but happy to take questions if there are any.
Great, thank you. Any questions of Gina, councillors? If not, I will move that the committee notes the report, place-based group, community groups, presentation to Civic Affairs Committee. Do I have a seconder? Don't have a seconder. Councillor Mayhem. Any discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Against? That's carried, thank you. So now we move on to we have 2 groups today, Strathtyre Connect Charitable Trust and Byers Brockville Charitable Trust. So Strathtyre Connect is first, and I invite to the table the Chair, Lenore Templeton, along with Robin Thomas and Rebecca Costello. So welcome to you all. And just as per the community boards, there's a 10-minute window there for you to present to us, and then we will ask questions after that. So once the technology is underway. Just to explain the microphones to you, if you're not familiar with them, you press the button in the middle there to speak, and when somebody else goes to speak, they'll do the same, and that'll turn your microphone off. And when you go to respond to somebody, just wait until they're finished speaking before you hit yours, or you'll cut them off and you won't hear the last of their comment or question. So, floor's yours. Thank you.
Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Council on the stance you have taken on behalf of us all in standing up for the need for our new hospital. Well done, keep up the good fight. Wellness is clearly top of Council's agenda, as it is ours. That is what drives us. We believe that appropriately timed and delivered community support is far better than the huge cost of providing ambulances at the bottom of every cliff. Our goal is not just to raise funds, but to transform and multiply every dollar we do raise into meaningful outcomes that can change, improve, and enhance our residents' lives. Our trust was formed in 2021 by a group of respected and motivated Strathtyre residents who could see the clear need for some form of locally driven wellness support program within our community. We're still a new trust with only 3 years' experience, but we have already achieved much. We're still learning though. Our community is largely a rural one. They are an extremely staunch and self-reliant bunch, unused to seeking or accepting support, but we do face some unique challenges. Originally, we were chosen by MPI as a recipient of a 2-year establishment grant, a fund set up to support rural communities. Unfortunately, that fund has since been diverted to priority work on the East Coast following the serious weather events there. We focused that initial seeding money on the part-time employment of a coordinator to work with local groups, clubs and individuals, identify needs and assist in seeking funding to undertake priority projects. That has been the key, we believe, to successfully delivering a successful wellness-focused program within the community. Being connected in any community is critical, and our coordinator role achieves that admirably. With the loss of the MPI funding, support from DCC via your place-based program has been crucial. I'll now hand over to Lenore Templeton, our Chair, to outline some of the projects and achievements and the pivotal role that Council plays in enabling this work through the place-based program.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you, Council, for the opportunity to present to you today. When Robin says we were incredibly lucky to secure the MPI funding, we were in fact incredibly lucky to have someone in our community like Robin who had the foresight to see how that funding could benefit, act on it, secure the funding to establish our trust. As someone whose roots are firmly in the Strath, born and bred, I believe that I have a good sense of our community and what makes the area tick. Over the years, I've recognised that many great ideas, projects and opportunities in our region haven't been implemented simply because there hasn't been anyone in the position to take on the task of implementation. In the short term since the establishment of the Trust, our list of achievements is long, and I'd like to focus on 3 that are key. The first one is one of our founding projects, the Strathtyre Welcome Pack. This comprehensive resource includes contact information for local clubs and groups, as well as full details on community services. Rebecca, our coordinator, delivers these to newcomers to our community, along with a range of locally produced goods, such as honey and fresh produce from our community garden grow cots. The feedback we have received has been heartwarming. New residents express surprise and gratitude at receiving the pack, feeling an immediate sense of connection and inclusion. Even our existing residents appreciate it with comments like, "Great to have everything in one place and fantastic information." Of course, all the information is also available on our Trust website. The next I'd like to talk to is the funding that we secured for those affected by COVID, and now for families or individuals facing hardship, loss or illness. This initiative is in collaboration with our local Food Ferries group. If there was a silver lining to COVID, this was it for our Trust, enabling the delivery of 152 food parcels to date, which helped put us on the map and raise awareness for who we are and what we do. We have secured $28,000 in funding and a long-term commitment from Lions to continue to fund this group. Funding the Food Ferries not only helps those in need, but it also fosters connection, keeping alive the rural tradition of coming together to prepare food for others. The semi-regular cookathons providing the perfect platform to build a sense of togetherness. One of our key goals is growing competency. And the Trust has run several workshops to help build our community's resilience, wellness and connection.
We have enabled 38 people to be first aid trained, with more courses planned for next year. We are rurally isolated and many miles from emergency services, so we see it as a vital role we can play in coordinating and running these workshops. Unfortunately, the statistics for suicide in rural communities are high, and we are not immune to this reality. In the past 18 months, we have faced the tragic loss of 2 lives to suicide. In response, we have organised and run an interactive information workshop, Safe Talk Suicide Prevention, which equips participants with the tools to recognise and address early signs of mental stress. This is a critical step in beginning to tackle this issue. In a similar vein, we have arranged for a nationally recognised speaker to address the dangers of cyberbullying and online security. This initiative has raised awareness for what is often perceived as big city crime, while also providing our community with practical strategies to manage these challenges. Asked for by the community, we have just completed a series of 3 workshops on the new laws for incorporated societies, supplying information on how to for our community clubs and groups. All of these initiatives I've highlighted and many more that we have run have been made possible by the DCC place-based funding that enables us as a trust to employ a community trust coordinator. Now I'd like to hand over to Rebecca Costello, who will share more about her role and some of the highlights.
Thank you, Lenore. Good morning, everyone. My role as Community Coordinator plays a central role in connecting, organising and supporting my community's needs. As you can see on the screen, we have had some great feedback. It's going to get there. Some of my responsibilities include organising events and workshops, working closely with our clubs and groups to help them fill in funding applications when needed for their initiatives. Being the middleman, I collaborate with our residents and bring their initiatives to the Trust, who then decide if they align with our values and goals. I then work with the person or group to bring their initiative into fruition. I encourage connection and engagement with all of our residents, building friendships based on trust and respect. Being from a rural isolated background myself, I find it easy to connect and relate to our community's needs. I also support our more vulnerable members by working with them and, if need be, referring them to support services. Trust is a big part of this, and I strive to ensure our members feel safe with full confidentiality. I am very passionate about my job, as I believe a community coordinator is essential for fostering a connected, resilient and empowered community. One of the community initiatives that I enjoyed the most was our community potluck dinner. We were pleasantly surprised with over 80 people attending, especially since we only had 5 RSVPs. We received great feedback from our community, and it was surprising to hear from some long-term residents who mentioned that, despite living in the area for several years, hadn't met any of their neighbours. That in itself goes to show how much my role is needed and appreciated. A lot of these community initiatives wouldn't happen without the place-based funding, so on behalf of the Strathtyre residents and myself, thank you.
Just a couple of points of wrap-up. Place-based funding provides employment for our part-time coordinator. Most funding providers don't allow for that. It is locally focused, prioritised and delivered, and has great outcomes for our whole community. I'm sorry you can't see some of the comments that we've received. And importantly, it helps create some inexpensive fences at the top of numerous cliffs, not ambulances at the bottom. And just finally, I'd like to warmly welcome all of you to attend our next Community Day. It's a family fun day on Sunday the 17th of November at Middlemarch. You'd be very, very welcome if you're able to make it. Open to any questions.
Thank you to the three of you. Fantastic presentation. And we now have questions from Councillor Gowrie first.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. So my first question is just to clarify that you have your community board and you have the group you're talking about, and is it the case that they complement one another, not replicate, because you can raise funds? Is that the situation?
Yes, absolutely. you probably know I'm on the community board as well, so that helps in terms of liaison and communication. But they both work together in terms of providing opportunity. The community board, though, is focused primarily on infrastructure. We're focused very much on the people and that connection.
So on the topic of connection, I was really delighted to see the wellness packs there. I have some experience of that in the community that I live in and the benefit of those. And I heard you say around the neighbours not knowing one another. So do you find that a connected community is a resilient community? It's certainly been my experience, but I'm interested in your comments on that in the rural sector.
Absolutely. And I guess when I was young, there was very much the same families that lived in the Strathtyre forever, and we all knew each other. That's not the case now. We have so many new people and we welcome them to our area, and it's absolutely vital that we form a connection. As our community board said, if something happens, we won't be a high priority and we'll need to rely on each other. So we play that valuable role of connecting people, making sure they do know who their neighbours are and where they can reach out for support.
Thank you, and congratulations on the quality of what you're doing and the range of what you're doing.
Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Rebecca, Robin and Lenore. And it didn't take me long in this country to realise that RSPVs don't equal attendance. Incredible thing that Kiwis have. And also apologies for the 17th, I'm not in the country, I would have come along. I have a question for each of you, I think. Firstly, Robin, I think you mentioned how you mentioned the place-based funding that we distribute here. How crucial is that to your group in terms of continuing its operations?
It's pivotal. There are other funders, and we do work with a whole lot of different agencies, such as the ones that we have worked with in the past: MPI, Lotto, DIA, Targa Community Trust, Catalytic Foundation, Lions, the whole story. There's a series of funding provider and funding opportunities, but, and it's a huge but, very, very few provide for employment of anyone. They're very focused on a project. So if you want to buy something or deliver a particular project, great. But to get to that point of being able to provide and deliver, you actually need a lot of background work. And that's where the coordinator role comes in. It's really crucial. And the DCC Place-Based Fund is really important in that sense.
So just to clarify, so any threat to that place-based fund from our perspective is a threat to you guys. Okay. And Lenore, I think this might be for you in terms of the, you talked a lot about connection, and would you agree that very much like a lot of place-based groups, your group is the connective tissue in the community?
Sorry. Yes, exactly. That's exactly the role we want to play, and Rebecca is the face of our trust and does that for us. Yes, 100%.
And Rebecca, too, for you. Firstly, how long have you been in the role?
Just 2 years.
Okay. Never say just.
I've learned a lot.
Proudly 2 years. And I don't know who wants to take this question, but you mentioned the food parcels. I was really interested in that, and that obviously emanated from COVID. And so I assume that's ongoing. And if it is, how many food parcels are you distributing now, and how regularly?
Quite regularly, because now we've moved on to not just COVID, but of course people facing hardship or illness or such like. And the other thing that around connection is because people are really aware of the food ferries, they are ringing us or ringing Rebecca to say, hey, these people are in need, can you deliver the food parcels? And that starts the whole ball rolling for other needs that they might have that we can help them with as well.
Presumably that need is is it sort of a bellwether of what's happening in the wider community?
Yeah, it's an absolute reflection on what's happening. It's been pretty tough rurally off late.
And that seems at the end of questions. So thank you very much, the three of you, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Hopefully we see you all, or as many as can make it, on the 17th. There's the invitation up on the screen now.
Perfect. I'd now like to invite the Vice Brockville Charitable Trust members to come and speak to us. We have quite a team by the looks of it. So there's Nanny Mary Parata, Hone Hawkins, Ron Hawkins, Jill Connolly, Rochelle Thompson. Have I covered everybody, or is there others as well? So welcome along to you all, and we look forward to hearing from you. As you'll already be witnessed, you've got 10 minutes to present to us, and then we will ask questions after that. So just in your own time, ready for you. Sorry, it looks like your microphone's not on. Is it?
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. Okay.
And I'll just explain for you all that when it comes to speaking, there's the button there to push. The red light will light up, and when somebody else goes to speak, they'll do the same thing, and that will disconnect your microphone. And when you go to speak again, push it again. So, sorry, carry on. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll start again. Kia ora koutou. My name is Irene Harris, and I'm the Community Advisor for Bias Charitable Trust. Thank you to Dunedin City Council Place-Based Grant. We were successful in 2023-2024 with the grant of $50,000. That helped us launch a community hub called Brockville Community Connect in Brockville. It's been well received by our community. What do we do at Brockville Community Connect? We do a mixture of many things. Primarily, however, we have discovered that our community really needs a sense of purpose. So I have here a lot of our residents who have come, supports our community hub, but also come in as a voluntary basis to help support what's needed in our community. So I have here Nanny Mary Parata. Nanny Mary has been a resident for over 45 years in the Brockville community. Her and her late husband, Tom Arapita, known as Papa Tom, founded Te Hunga Rangatahi o Ngā Hauewha, and we... Sorry, this is Nanny Mary. Sorry, Jill. Nanny Mary and her late husband founded the Kapahaka group to support those who tamariki and whānau who were in need of support. So Nanny Mary will just do a quick introduction of what the community means to her and what the hub itself has done for her and her whānau.
Kia ora. Yes, I'm very pleased to be here. A bit scared, of course. Yes, also, this lady didn't say that I've fostered children since 1950 till now. We've done so much already, but we need more, because the young ones need to learn, the young mums, how to sew something on a button on, and all those sorts of things that they haven't had learnt. So we really need to look at domestic things and see that they're all right when they come in every day, and they need their food, and there's food coming in sometimes. So I'm just, sort of in the back there, but I'm not really. I'm there every day just about. So I just do the general things that we have to do, but it's the best thing that's ever happened to Brockville. Really is. Because you can go in there and don't feel, that you're doing things wrong. You can just walk in and talk to people. And this is what I like. That's what I'm all about, actually. All about that. Thank you.
Kia ora, Nan. over here we have the lovely Ron Hawkins. Ron Hawkins has lived in our community for 50 years. He was a caretaker of Brockville School, and he's done amazing stuff in our community also. So, Ron?
Kia ora, good morning one and all. Irene has run behind the hub, she's the boss. Plate full, doing everything around that place. No time to do the whole lot of it, so being retired, I decided it was time I stepped forward and volunteered my services. So in this case, I took over doing the newsletter once every 2 months. We cover all sorts of points of interest, items about local people, food bank dates, any items of local interest. In general, try to help out everywhere where possible. I totally believe in my community. I back the Brockville Community Connect, our local hub, all the way. And without any help and funding from the council, we are basically going nowhere. Thank you.
Kia ora, Ron. We have Jill Connolly, also been in Brockville for 57 years. So thank you, Jill.
Good morning, everyone. I have now started for Brockville a fundraising committee, which we've had one meeting so far, and so far we've already raised over $500 in a month. So that's going not too bad. I do a food parcel service every second Thursday. That helps out to people that need help for food and whatever else that they need. They come in and just ask us. So they're the two main things that I'm doing up there just now. It's just things have just started for us, and I've only been volunteering now for, about 6 months. I think I'm started 2 good groups, so we just need a bit of help to keep it going. I mean, we get food that comes in every second Thursday, and that's what does our food parcels out to the community. And it's just a walk-in, so people can walk in every second Thursday and get their food parcels, and that helps out in that way. So more funding, the more things that we can do out for our service. We just had, are you going to say about the painting? The murals? Yeah. Last weekend we had a tagger, I think is what he's classed as, come in and he did 2 huge big murals in Brockville to start making it look better. So where our hub is, we did that whole wall, and then we've got a grass part and we did that whole wall. So that's just brightening up Brockville. We need to have things, sorry I'm blurting now, we need to have things for the younger children to be able to get into and do things instead of just going out like nothing to do and vandalising. We have a bit of vandalising that if we have things for kids to do, that would stop. So I think I've said enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jill. We have Rochelle Thompson. Rochelle's and her family have lived in Brockville for 14 years.
Atamari. Yeah, so be with me, I get anxiety. Our community hub is really good for our community, and we are wanting to incorporate a playgroup for our families who would, want to have somewhere to go, whether they don't drive or just having that whole community feel, and to help the mamas, papas, caregivers with whatever they need, and to help them help their tamariki reach their milestones. So we're bringing up, the next generation. Yeah, I don't know how else more to say, but yeah.
You support.
Yeah.
Thank you too. These residents aren't just my neighbours or our neighbours. They're not just residents. They have become our aunties, our nannies, our uncles, our brothers and sisters, and whānau. And so that's the beauty about Brockville, is that moving forward, the need to continue with our hub. We've been blessed with being successful the next round of 2024-2025 funding through DCC place-based grant, and that's to help us to continue the work that we're doing with the hub, but also to be able to employ more community advisors to be able to do the groundwork that's needed in our community. So we thank you for your time and for your support. Kia ora.
Thank you all very much for the work you do, the time you spend free of charge, helping the community. Fantastic work. Thank you. We have questions. First one from Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And without getting too emotional here, I think if anyone around this table is in any doubt about what place-based groups do and the definition of it, we have just seen it in action. So I thank you all for speaking from the heart. That really is, for me, the definition of what place-based is about. I got the impression, Irene, that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you have a lot going on, and structurally that may be quite difficult corralling some of what you do. And I'm seeing some heads nodding. Do you reach out to other place-based groups for aid and support? Because some of them have been around for a long time, and some of them will be doing the same mahi you're doing. Have you reached out?
Yes, and this is the beautiful thing about the DCC place-based, is that it's in Ōtepoti. We are more involved, so our coordinators connect with us continuously. So the relationship is probably a lot more solid than what we would find with our other funders, and therefore if I do need the support of those that have been doing this sort of mahi a lot longer than myself, yes, it's there. We have a great support group, and we have that relationship where you're not whakamau, you're not shy to be able to reach out, because there's that understanding of how hard that work can be on the ground. Kia ora.
And thank you for that. And just a basic question, is the hub open 7 days a week?
At the moment, we open 3 days to our community. It is there 5 days of the week, with myself only being the only community advisor in our community. There's a big load of administration that needs to be done, and I need that time to be able to do that sort of work as well.
And the same boring old question I ask every place-based group, but it's the most important question, and I know the answer, but I'll ask it because I want to hear it from you. Without the DCC providing the significant place-based funding it does to all groups, without that, where would you be?
We are classed as a priority community because we do not have anything. We do not even have a public toilet. We need an upgrade of a park. So without the support of not only the funds, but the support from the team here in Ōtepoti DCC, we can't do it alone. Kia ora.
Final question, I'm sure we're all itching to come and see what you do, so I presume there's an open invitation for any of us to come up and pay you guys a visit?
You'll be most welcome.
Yes, you're all welcome. Would love to see you.
Councillor Gary.
Thank you, and thank you for having the courage to come and speak. I know it's really overwhelming, but you're really welcome. A quick question. Councillor Walker asked most of the questions I had, but are you finding the need is growing?
Yes, we've only really touched base on recognising the need, whether it be employment, the basic needs of food, just a place to be able to come for a cup of tea and someone to listen. But yes, it's a whole mixture, and it's a wide range of different things, whether we end up being in the court system just to support a whānau, through to celebrating a birthday.
And I saw lots of nods when I asked that question. Thank you for your mahi.
Councillor Mayhem.
Thank you. You mentioned youth activities and things to engage the young people. Did you have anything specific in mind? I came along to the hub opening and I saw that you could write your name down to sit your licence or come along to evening classes and different things like that. So anything specifically youth focused?
As Jill mentioned, we just had the mule. So in collaboration with that, there is a wide range of rangatahi tamariki that we deal with. The ones that are really primarily wrapped around at this stage would be those that are at risk, those who are entering the court system. So it's identifying that these young ones are losing interest in school and how we can wrap around as a community to support that. It looks all very different, but the main kōrero that we're getting back from our young people is that they want to go into employment, they want to be able to help their whānau into paying for the basic needs of food, or helping their whānau pay for bills, or just trying to succeed out of life for themselves. Does that answer your question?
A little bit. It segues into my next question, which was about food. So you mentioned twice, every Thursday you're putting out 2 food parcels to more to the community. And I wondered if you're collaborating with any groups like Kiwi Harvest that get the supermarket older food to redistribute in the community.
That's correct. We have Kiwi Harvest is our only provider at this stage. We just don't have the manpower to be able to build that. But in 2024, 2025, we hope to, with being able to employ more staff, we'll have that power to be able to provide more for our residents. We probably have up to about 20 residents per day when we open up the hub, and majority of that would be asking for food support.
And following on from that, so if you were to secure more place-based funding, would you actually purchase food, like have your own little food bank with, have you got one of those food pantries? We've got one in my community. I buy a slab of baked beans and some noodles and things every week, and I'm astonished at the uptake, just for the very basics.
We have currently 4 Pātakau Kai units. That was a community-driven initiative to begin with, and Bias Charitable Trust monitor those Pātaka Kais. Yes, if we were to be successful in further funding, there is that need for more food in our community. However, collaborating with wraparound services as well to be able to support our community further.
Councillor Hurleham.
Thank you. Yes, some of my questions are a wee bit similar, but first of all, thank you so much for what you're doing. It just sounds incredible, and thank you to you for coming today and speaking. That was really good. So I'm just wondering, the food bank, do you work with them or not? It sounds like you don't. Or you do, or?
Majority of our residents also already have support through budget advice. So doubling up on that isn't really what we've recognised to be the need at this stage. However, we do collaborate with the Department of Nutrition at Otago University, and we do programs on how our residents who may be receiving support in that area to make their food go further. supporting our former refugee families in regards to how to utilise the food that we do have in making food that they may not be so familiar with. Those are the support systems that we recognise that helps our community.
So most of the people would already get support from the food bank, and you're topping that up because you see there's a need for it. Is that what you're saying?
No, apologise. That's not what I do. That's not what I mean. Our community will come for the need of food. What they do get outside of Brockville Community Connect is the support for budget advice.
Is one of the problems for people to go to the food bank that's in town is that actually getting there, the ability to get there to pick up the food? Yeah.
It's a mixture of things. One is transport, yes. It's also a pride, a sense of mana to be able to go into an organisation and ask for food. So when they are able to come to the hub, they feel more at home and more willing to come into our doors and be received well because of it.
Inside your hub, and my apologies because I should go and have a look, so one day I'll come up and have a look. But do you have like any activities in there that teenagers could do, like pool table or anything like that? Or
no, we don't at the moment, but we hope to get there for to have more of activities like that for our rangatahi, yes.
And that's the end of questions. So thank you all very much for coming along. We very much appreciate you telling us your story and how things work in your community. And by the sounds of it, you're doing a fantastic job. So well done to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So item 9 is the next item on our agenda. However, the representatives from the Dunedin Youth Council are not quite here yet. Somebody was probably trying to guess the time, and for some reason we've sped up. So well done for that. So with the leave of the meeting, I'm just going to ask that we move on to item 10 at the meantime, just while we wait for the others. So thank you, Councillor Vandervis. So I don't know if we need to move that. Do we need to move that? That we take that item out of order? Yes, so I'll move that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you. So we now go to Civic Affairs Activity Report for the period till 30th of October 2024. So Claire or Rob, do you have any comments?
Just happy to answer questions.
Questions, councillors? I think my comment earlier was taken very, very literally, wasn't it? So, if that be the case, I move that the committee notes the Civic Affairs Activity Report. Seconded Councillor Walker. Any discussion? Not, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? And that's carried. So, I'm going to suggest we take a 5-minute break, if that's okay. So, I've moved it. Councillor Walker seconded it. All those in favour, please say aye. Thanks, that's carried.
Just an alternative suggestion, we have a confidential agenda to get through. Perhaps we could do that.
We're not going to get rid of everybody and then come back to another pub. But good, I hear where you're coming from, but I don't think they're far away. Thanks. They were 15 minutes away 10 minutes ago. we can take our seats, please, and we'll get back underway. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. We'll carry on with the rest of the agenda for Civic Affairs Committee. And so we now go back to item number 9, which is the Dunedin Youth Council 6 monthly report, 1 July through to 31 October. And I invite to join us Alice Johnston, who is the Deputy Chair of Dunedin Youth Council, and Lucy Riley, who is the Secretary. So welcome along, ladies, and you'll be joined, of course, by our staff representative, Jay Phillips. So welcome along. And I'm sure you guys are better at technical stuff than us, but just to remind you, the microphones, when you go to speak, just press the button, it'll light up red, and when somebody else speaks, they'll do the same, and that'll turn yours off, so when you go to speak again, you need to turn it back on. So you've got 10 minutes to speak to us, and then we'll ask you questions after that. So the floor is yours.
Kia ora everyone. So firstly, I'm going to start with an overview on our report. So the Dunedin Youth Council is a body of rangatahi open to ages 12 to 18 that serves as both a representative body of Ōtepoti youth and as a facilitator of youth-based community events. Also, sorry, I have a cold right now, so I sound a bit nasally. The DYC has remained a significant avenue for the DCC to continue with the young people living in Ōtepoti. As well as a facilitator of fantastic community events, this report provides an overview of our priorities for 2024, as well as dealing with the major actions that the DYC has undertaken in the last 5 to 6 months, so June to November 2024. At the end of the year, the DYC came together for the first of two full-day hui, which are held annually. There you go. The hui is held in February 2024 and was served as a way for second-year members and first-year members to build and strengthen their relationships. We also participated in a workshop which enabled us to identify some of the key challenges that the city's rangatahi are facing, brainstorming solutions and confirming our strategy goals for 2024, which are identified below, followed by the major actions. Events and activities which were undertaken by the council since our last report. So we have tackling discrimination at school, better inter-school relationships, bus hub safety and wellbeing, and drink driving and getting home safe after a night out.
Okay, so just to highlight some of the major actions taken by the DYC for this last 5 to 6 months, we've got the Student-Led Safe Spaces initiative for the Dunedin high schools. We've got the Late Night Bus Services petition. We've got the DYC podcast from Dunedin On Air, Festival for the Future, Better Inter-School Relationships, Soundwave Youth Festival, Youth Outreach in the Bus Hub, Te Hura Otago Museum exhibition, UNESCO meeting with the CEO, and the councillor Q&A. And to start with, we've got the Student-Led Safe Spaces initiative. The DYC delivered a letter to Dunedin high schools regarding tackling racism, homophobia and bullying. Our goal was to use our collective voice to engage with schools represented by DYC members in order to encourage these schools to support the student body in creating student-led spaces in schools by writing a letter which was jointly signed by all DYC members and presented to the senior administration within the schools. We presented this letter to our respective high schools in May. We then followed up over the next few months, and unfortunately the response was underwhelming, as many of the schools felt that they were already delivering to their students in the space, or felt as though it was not appropriate for students to manage a safe space or classroom without a teacher, or they did not have the resources to allocate to this. The DYC has therefore decided to approach this goal again in 2025 from a different perspective.
Moving on to the late night bus services petition. So the DYC created a petition for the ORC to establish a late night buses services and advertising campaign to encourage youth to use buses instead of drink driving or getting in vehicles with drink driver. The petition is currently running on change.org and being promoted on the DYC social media. Once completed, the DYC intend to deliver the petition to the Otago Regional Council. As of November 2024, we have 259 signatures on the petition. As we didn't manage to reach the number we wanted to for this petition, we hope to further push this initiative next year to reach our goal of 1,000 signatures. By engaging our community face-to-face, including attending more community events and participating in petitioning on the streets of Ōtepoti.
Our next major action is the DYC podcast on Dunedin On Air. The DYC, with the support of Otago Access Radio, hosts a youth-focused podcast. We record 2 podcasts back-to-back fortnightly on a Friday, which are then released weekly. We also allow guests to join our podcasts, as this allows us to connect with the community and to make closer connections to people. The podcast is an opportunity for members of the DYC to come together and kōrero about our day-to-day lives and provide our perspective on current events and hot topics. As a part of our podcast, we have conducted interviews with some of the rangatahi around Ōtepoti, where they could receive more exposure for their work, and a representative from community law who was able to answer listeners' questions and provide information and education regarding legal issues that are relevant to young people. Currently, we are averaging 300 to 400 listeners per month, with our peak being 800 listeners. Our connection with our OAR FM community allowed us to attend both the OAR FM broadcasters get-together and the NZ Young Writers Fest 10th anniversary celebration. Both of these events allowed our DYC members to represent the council and make connections with the wider community in Ōtepoti.
Moving on to Festival for the Future. So, in July 2024, the head and deputy chair of the Dunedin Youth Council were approached by Councillor Gilbert, who inquired as to whether the DYC were attending the Festival for the Future in Wellington. As the DYC has a very limited budget, we explained to the council that unfortunately that was not possible. Councillor Gilbert then worked with the Mayor to provide the opportunity for 2 DYC members, the head and deputy chair, so Melody and I, to attend the festival as his guests. So in addition to this, we were also invited to attend the Ministry of Education meeting, a Business NZ meeting, as well as the Swiss ambassador led by the Ambassador of Switzerland. So the Festival for the Future is titled as Aotearoa's biggest leadership initiative summit and was held in the TSB Arena in Wellington over the course of 4 days. The DYC members attended workshops and we challenged our creativity and inspired new ideas of leadership. And it gave them a chance to learn from a diverse range of speakers, each of whom shared a valuable insight on initiative, leadership and social change. The panel session, Trailblazers, What Does It Mean to Be a Legacy?, led them to listen to a range of speakers who focused on the essence of being a trailblazer through examining the challenges and successes of paving the way for our future generations. In particular, the speaker Nina Santos, hopefully I said that right, who shared her experience with tall poppy syndrome and learning to embrace her accomplishments stood out as they connected with her story and found it inspiring. Santos' insights were taught the attendees that the importance of self-advocacy and reflection. Currently, the lesson of acknowledging our achievements has stuck with Melody and I, as it has boosted our confidence and it's motivated us to pursue new opportunities. Nina's message to that day encourages us to value our contributions and share them more openly. So they connected with fellow attendees, specifically with youth councillors across from Aotearoa, letting us exchange ideas for the representative council and collaborate on solutions to pressing challenges. Feedback from us was that we gained lots of practical skills and knowledge, which we've continued to apply in our DYC roles. This reinforced the importance of youth voice and decision-making processes. The support from the Mayor and Councillor Gilbert showed the leaders that they have a genuine interest in a variety of perspectives offered by the rangatahi in Ōtepoti. as this experience provided these members with valuable skills that they can continue to apply to our council. The DYC would love the opportunity to take all the members to the festival for the future in 2025, as feedback provided from other Aotearoa youth councils showed that allowing all members of the council to experience this unique opportunity creates stronger communication and teamwork skills for our councils.
And then we've got Better Interschool Relationships, Soundwave Youth Festival. In alignment with our goal of building better interschool relationships, the DYC organised a music event called the Soundwave Youth Festival, where students from all over Otipoti could come together, perform and build connections. The Soundwave Youth Festival was a non-competitive free event where local high school bands and upcoming solo artists had the opportunity to perform in front of an audience and create lasting connections. Caregivers, whānau and friends were welcomed, creating a supportive environment for the young performers. There was an incredible turnout for this event, with 16 bands, 65 performers, 100 tickets sold, 4 volunteers, 17 DYC members, 4 DCC Community Partnership staff members, 3 security guards, 2 sound technicians, 3 ERIC staff members, and 23 pizzas and catering. Hope you stayed along with that. A mother of a performer said, "My son and his band had a great time and came home buzzing. As a parent of that awkward age mid-teen kid, it's really cool having something provided that is so fun and safe." It was challenging for the DYC to find a venue that was within our limited budget which could support this youth-led event. However, we were extremely fortunate with that ERIC's venue supported us with some of the more complex logistics, as well as providing the venue at a heavily discounted rate. The DYC would like to continue to be able to host events that foster positive relationships between high schools and create engagement from the wider Otipoti community. So our youth outreach in the bus hub. So in late May, the DYC spent a week at the bus hub doing peer outreach during the busiest hours of the bus hub. The members with supervision provided mental health resources, kai and a kōrero for those that needed it. In August, the head and secretary, so Mel and I, of the DYC were given the opportunity to accompany Councillor Gilbert to the Tuhura Atagam exhibition of Earth, a cosmic spectacle by artist Louise Bear. This was an amazing opportunity for the members to network with some of the key figures of Tuhura, including Labour MP Ingrid Leary. The exhibition was an exploration of the philosophical reflections on the climate crisis, specifically from the perspectives of rangatahi around Otipoti, which gave the members insight to share with the whole council for possible future initiatives and work on the climate crisis. I don't know how to say this. UNESCO, we're going to go with that. In September, meeting UNESCO. Thank you, that's great. In September, representatives of the DYC were given the opportunity to attend a meeting with the UNESCO, thank you, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organisation. What's the word? UNESCO. Thank you. UNESCO works with many different programs which engage with youth from all around the world. The DYC learnt more about the work of UNESCO and how they can get connected with the global youth community, which will create important connections for DYC's future. In terms of bus safety, the DYC is currently working with stakeholders on specific kaupapa regarding bus or public transport safety. This work is ongoing and we'll be able to release more information in early 2025. And then meeting with the CEO. During one of our meetings in late July, the DYC had the opportunity to connect with DCC CEO Sandy Graham. This meeting gave the members valuable insight into Graham's educational journey and pathway to becoming the CEO of the DCC. Furthermore, the members got advice from Graham regarding their leadership skills, with Graham advising the members that authentic leadership and not being afraid to trust yourself was key in leadership, as well as listening to the people you trust. The members' feedback of this meeting was very positive, as many members were able to take away important ideas and advice from Graham. Awesome. So this is what we're looking forward to for 2025. Looking forward into 2025, it is the current council's hope that the 2025 will continue to work on the following kaupapa. We would like to further push our petition for the establishment of night buses in Otipoti through our face-to-face work in our community next year.
Furthermore, we would like to continue our work with stakeholders regarding bus safety, as well as this has been a major concern for the DYC for a number of years. Following our Safe Spaces initiative from this year, we would also like to focus on creating a new initiative, using the feedback provided from the schools this year, which will tackle the issue of discrimination at schools. The success of the DYC's Soundwave Youth Festival has provided the importance of fostering better inter-school relationships through events and activities hosted by the DYC. We would also encourage councillors to take opportunities when presented by the DYC to encourage on kaupapa and initiatives that are important to the young people in the city. Thank you. Oh, we have lots of photos if you want to flip through from our Soundwave Music Festival.
Which look great too, by the way.
Thank
We've already done
you.
that. I'm sure everybody else has too. Okay, so you're okay to answer a few questions?
Yeah.
Great. So we will start with Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for coming in, guys. Thanks for your ongoing work. A number of questions which I've written down as we go. First one, I'll go backwards. In terms of you talked a lot about transport and night buses, for example. Do you present in the way you've presented us to the Otago Regional Council who run the buses? So do you sit in front of them and give them a presentation?
So our night buses petition that we have created, we are not presenting until to the Otago Regional Council until we've got a goal which accurately reflects the people in Otipoti who would like to establish these night buses. So we are waiting until we can do face-to-face work with our community next year and get more engagement on that petition before we present it.
Excellent answer. Should become a politician. Next question. The Festival for Future stuff was really interesting, actually, and you mentioned that you'd like everyone to go in 2025. And don't tell me it's in Rarotonga, but where is it being held?
Does it change each year? Is it still Wellington? Wellington.
Okay, excellent. I'll save this last question to ask. It's a biggie. I'll ask it now. The Otago Museum exhibition, you talked about council, the whole council for possible future initiatives and work on the climate crisis. What sort of future work?
That will be decided next year when we get our new council for 2025. We will have to spend some time thinking of what initiatives we want to focus on this year. Unfortunately, we can't just walk in next year and go, these are what we are doing, because we want every single council member to be engaged with the work that we are doing next year.
Sounds wonderfully democratic. And my final question is, you've talked a wee bit about DYC social media, and I follow you guys. What sort of engagement do you get, and who oversees that social media?
We have, what are their roles? Social media liaison?
Social media liaison.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Amara and Malak are the ones who do that. So they're DYC members. What kind of thing you want to know?
Just wondering what sort of, I mean, it appears to me the Facebook page doesn't get tremendous engagement. I'm wondering what other platforms are you over? Are you over Instagram and TikTok? And
Yeah, not TikTok, but Instagram. We're on Instagram. There we go.
Feel the engagement's pretty good?
Yeah, we've had...
Oh, yeah, sorry. We've had good engagement from our Instagram. I'm not too sure about our Facebook, sorry. And from our DYC podcast, we've got really good engagement from that.
And don't get me wrong here, I'm fully aware that Facebook is for old people like me, so awesome. Thank you.
Councillor Gary.
Thank you. A great report, and clearly you've been really busy, so well done with that. My question is around succession planning, because one of the challenges I know for the DYC is that you move on, you get people skilled up, and then you move on. What is the situation for you? I'm not sure what year you're in this year, and what succession planning have you been doing?
So for the succession planning, we have some members each year that will be first year members. It will be their first time in the DYC, and then some who will be continuing from the last year. So what that does is it really helps us. We have some existing people with those existing skills that can help teach those same like leadership skills to the council of, well, let's say 2025. I'll be serving my second term then, but this is Alice's current second term, which means sadly she won't be with us, but I'll be able to take everything that Alice has taught me this year and bring it to the next year council so that they can bring it to the next year after that council, and hopefully that just continues on.
That sounds great. And also, while Jay's having a word, so within the council, what would be the maximum number of years that a council member could be on there for?
So you can be on for 2 years, so two years, but I think the rule is like there's a wee break and then you can come. Is it 2 year break, Jay? There's something like that. Oh, jokes, 2 years. Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Okay.
I would just like to add that we do have a document where we are putting in some of the initiatives that we think we might want to look at next year, and we'll be presenting that next year to our 2025 council and seeing which ones interest them.
So you've got a bit of a starting point for that. That's fantastic. Thank you, and thank you for all the work you do, Jay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I'm curious about the Soundwave Youth Festival. What do you see as the potential for this festival?
We found that there was so much potential from this music festival. So we had the stats said we had 100 guests. Yeah, thank you. And we had so many bands as well. I'm not sure the exact number. 17.
16 bands and I think 65 performers. So great engagement from the people performing, but also from the people attending and willing to see these people shine. And we got a lot of feedback from the bands. I know that we might know them from our high schools and stuff, who were very happy to get that opportunity to perform some of their work. It's hard for some of them to find a platform to just, show that their hard work that they've been doing with their band is actually paid off. So everyone was very grateful, and we've got great feedback from the audience who had a fun time. So just great engagement from our community, I'd say.
Do you have a marketing plan to increase the numbers for next time, or is there going to be a next time?
We really hope there's going to be a next time. Most likely there'll be some sort of event next year for the council. Not sure what it is. Maybe a music event. We haven't decided yet. We'll decide when we have those new people come in. But yeah, no, we don't have. We haven't yet made a strategic plan on that. But we know that our events usually do very well in the community, especially our music event. Soundwave did amazing, especially from the feedback we got this year. So continuing something like that would be awesome. Yeah.
So how did you fund this event? Because I see it was all free, but there would have been costs. How was that funded?
It might be easier for me to answer that question. Thank you, Mayor. The DYC has approximately $6,000 in budget that's allocated each year. So over half of their budget this year went towards that event, but we also relied heavily on the generosity from the community. So as we mentioned, Eric's venue was heavily discounted, and that also included all of the sound gear, instruments, etc. They also helped with promotion, and we also had help from the likes of the DCC community events team. And so they loaned us a lot of equipment, which we use for security, like headpieces and radios, and we also got security hire at a discounted rate too through Eric's provider. So there were lots of things that sort of came together and allowed us to be able to do that. We have to be very creative with a limited budget, but yes, over half of the budget was spent on that event, and definitely we could have had more people there. This was our first time doing it, so we really wanted to make sure that all of the safety aspects were in place and that we could have the correct crowd control, but definitely had the potential to sell another 200 tickets easily, and everything is templated, so if the DYC choose to run an event like this, we can basically pick it up from all of the templated work that we did this year. Thank you.
Councillor Vandervis.
Congratulations on getting into the inter-school relationships. As a group, have you identified the particular strengths that particular schools have? I'm thinking of, Logan Park, their jazz band, Kaikoura Valley, they have an excellent disability Braithwaite Centre. Have you been able to see what the different schools really have a particular focus on, and perhaps share those experiences?
Honestly, we haven't quite done that. I think our idea is that we are all, like, no matter what school we're from, we all can be together, the togetherness. And that's not what you're exactly saying, but that's kind of our view. We don't really want to single out schools. The point is kind of to have everyone there and share our skills together. So, yeah.
Fine, yeah. What I was thinking was sort of sharing strengths that different schools have, but that's fine. My other question was, there is, in the last few years, been an unprecedentedly high level of youth student absenteeism at schools. Is that something that you have any focus on? Is it something you have any ideas about doing something about?
No, definitely. That's our Safe Spaces initiative. That's what we aim to do, is to have a space where students can stay at school, thank you, Jay, instead of going home and being absent. And it's in hopes of keeping students at school, but also having a space where they can feel comfortable enough to be at school. So we hope to continue that next year. Good.
Councillor Hurlam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How many members have you got, please?
I believe this year we have 18, but next year we are looking to broaden our horizons and try to accept from not only all schools, but from maybe a student who doesn't go to any school, is homeschooled and stuff like that. So we actually get a full range of perspectives which accurately reflect the rangatahi in Otipoti.
We had a youth person put their name forward for the live music action plan. Did you have any involvement on engaging around that and sort of trying to encourage youth to put their name forward?
No, sorry, I do not think that was us.
Did you know anything about it?
No.
Thank you. Last time we met with your group, there was a lot of emotion around the bus hub and people were hurting. I'm just wondering how people are feeling now and if they feel like some things have been done that are helping to heal.
Well, it's difficult to speak to the emotions of every single member. I know that each of us were affected very differently. Some people were personally affected by the incident. I would say that what has really helped is being able to work with stakeholders on this work that we so far cannot talk about, just knowing that we are doing something with our community to actually help aid this issue. It's something that we'll be continuing with throughout next year, and when that releases in February 2025, I believe. So that has helped, but yes, there's obviously nothing that can completely fix what has happened there.
Councillor Betson-Pope.
Thank you. Just further to the question about your membership, you've got all schools now involved, all secondary schools?
So this year, unfortunately, we lost our Otago Boys member who decided to unfortunately leave the council, which we were very sad to see them go. But next year we will definitely be looking forward to having, once again, at least 1 to 2 representatives from each school and non-school. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. From each school and non-school.
So just clarify that he had a clash with debating. So.
And that takes us to the end of questions. Thank you very much for your presentation and your report for the last 6 months. Great work that you're doing, and it's really good for us to have the opportunity to be able to see just what is happening in the youth circles around the city today. So thank you. Keep up the good work. And that takes us to item 11. Any items for consideration by the chair? If there are not, then I'll in fact, I will move that we go into non-public. Just a second. And so I move that the committee, pursuant to provisions of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, exclude the public from the following part of the proceedings for the reasons outlined in the agenda. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Mayhem, any discussion? If not, I'll put that all as a vote. Please say aye. Against, and that's carried. So we'll give it 5 minutes just to allow folk to take off, and then we'll carry on. Thank you.
A run sheet for the next